Please release me, let me go. For I don't love you anymore. To waste our life would be a sin. Please release me and let me love again. I have found a new love, and I will always want it. My lips I'll warm while yours I'll cold. Please release me, my darling, let me go. Whakamole, molete, tuku au ke alu. He kua mahino, aho o ofa, ko e loi katoa. Whakaofa, hosi tua, moelo I mata. Ka maia, o pealana, ai whai hataa. Please release me, let me go. For I don't love you anymore. To waste our life would be a sin. Please release me and let me love again. I have found a new love, and I will always.
Le te o wā ke tari whanau ko tau taimi, o se mi te ono pēr mei he taha wā. Sa e tau whi eke naki e ni e taimin. E lawa ke talanoa mai, koe hānai ha whainga mea ko ke whetaulaki mo ia, o ke ilo ko e skēmia. Koe hānai ha whahinga ha ofo I talanoa, koe mea ko ni neu whetaulaki mo ia, pēr ko ilo ko e skēmia. Tau kamata akia, ke kau mai he polo kalama, ko hi he ko osilipoti ia I Amerikani I Federal Trade Commission ko au ki he scam ko au ke lipoti e 5.4 biliona. Ai ko fo lipoti e 5.4 biliona ko osilipoti ki he Federal Trade Commission whakawhika waki pia mo scam.
Ai ko tahe ne report I mahu inga ne na hanga release,
Koia.
Whataha koia pia mo
Ethnic Media Network pia mo a Federal Trade Commission.
Iyo, ko whataha koia ne whahai a fia a hono ethnic media ma kau whai ngongo no tuku mai a reporti ko ni me he federal whakawaki pia moe ngai scam, Ko mea na mari e meri whatongai ai ngahi ripoti koe ni pia koe ka mega na ku wakai koe ki ai ai pehe koe ano fehu I ka whai ngongo ni pe o ku wa watu ahona pe ku wa ahona ngahi mawhai ki ngahi whanua ke he koe mega koe he kalasi ki he o ngahi scam tau te fito koe lahi taha o ngahi scam koe ni e meri koe kakai o nau whau ha whakaukau o pehe te maulava pe o whakahoko koe ko hatoko taha expert I he real estate o ka pau te ke ngāwe aki e mau whaunga ka hiri ko ia o tau os iloko toa pe te koe whaunga koe real estate I he whanua ko Amerika ko pau ke alu koe o ako ki ai pa te ke sivi ma o laiseni pa te ke toki lava ke whakatawa te mea koe api mahu mahi noi Ameri ka koe ngahi kautaha koe niko unau whau ko hake peni koe tahani ngahi whakatata ka koe kakai ko unau nofo o whau ha fo I po kalama ke pehe te ke whakatau e po kalama koe ni I he paanga e ono ngo futupu pe te mau watu e ngai whakapuri e hoi mo ka inga koe rock step uia koe e nauhanga koe o ave ho paanga kamata aki ki step ma koe paanga e ono ngo futupu pe fit ngo futupu ka I mui I he fupo kalama e koe ia ia te nau nofe na to au koe ke osi au kataimia I ono again anywhere Peko uhinga ko hake ai foi whakatata ko ia ke kamata aki ai foi ki foi tano whakatata ko ni ke maua o whakafuafua pe apply leva ai foi whakakaukau ko ia ki ngahi koloa ke o mamani ki ngahi invest ke o mamani emeri he nau tu umari e nau toluia I he package ko o nau whinga ke nau kaka I aki koe So fatu tamai ke fainga scam ko ia Emeri. Ko taha benga scam ko fie point out te kamata e pokalama mono mahuinga ka foke ka Emeri he koe meu whako ko Emeri.
Ko ia, hange koe ripoti ko na oku Asia tu. Paanga e nima kataki ko ripoti e nima poine 5 miliona. Ka mo whatoka ngā ia hange koe whamatala ko ia o kakai ko e ni. Peko kau tare kita o Federal Trade Commission ko nima po ne 5 miliona ko na a lipoti ko ne nau mau o ke to ela hipenga hili akakaya o kunau fe kuki pe mo scam ka u ke na lipoti e nau tol ko tahaya palo palema ko e fika pena ia kakai ko o lipoti sai ko la taha o ngahi scam ko ia o ne ngawe aki o ne lipoti for top 3 ko ia ne I hono ripoti ne na ripoti ko ki FTC ko uluaki ko identity theft aia ko identity theft ni pe ko hono kai ha asi ko ia e tau ngai whakamatala e tau ngai information pe ko tau ngai identity ko atau tolu kai ha asi e tau social security kai ha asi e tau hingoa ko date of birth ka toi ngai mea ko ia ko fika uluakia o laitaha o scam ko I Amerika ni ko no kaya asi e tau identity. O whaingo fua apito no kaya asi tau te fito ke ngai social media. O lava pe ke asi ai tau ngai mea ko fie mau ko to whaunga ta ko ene tā telefoni mai ana tala mai ko tā mai tā tu me IRS fie mau ke to tongi ho mea ko pa fie mau ke o mai a ho social security number ko hinga ke whapapau I aki e fo I fika ko mea ko mo mo ua ko homo atu pe ko ia ko na ngawe aki ke kaha asi aki o paanga ko I ho akauni ko ulu aki ko lahi tahaia o ngahi identity theft ko lahi tahaia o scam na lipoti ko ia ke FTC ko hono wa ko imposter scams ko imposter scams ni ani ko tau fetau laki mo ia I ngahi ngai feitu ke hange ko ia ko hono ngawe ake Federal Trade Commission ke trick ake kakai ke totongi ang hapaanga ka nautol E lava ke tātu hataha pe ko email atu, pe ko text atu, pe ko message atu, social media, o claim ko au, te hanga o te tongi ko koe o ko ke maho o fupale, pa anga taha miliona pe a mei he United Nation, pe a te ke lava o claim e pale koe ni, ake ta whetala noa ake koe ni, ia ngai mea te whi mao mea koe. Hi ngoa, aho wha e lei, ko whewheitu ke no whai, bla bla bla. Pe osko ia, pe le talab le wasai, koe ko maho ngai information, te nau lava e nau dolo ngau e akia ki ka asio identity. Pe a koe ai, koe ni te o ave ki he kautaha koe, pe osko ia, pe o atu koe, ke tō taha koe ia, pe talatu le wasai, te ke tō tongi mai e whi, pa angai wangeau, ki he ke loe a, koe uhinga ka ne hanga process, aho pepa ke claim aki aho o, aho me, koe imposter ia. Aia koe whika ua ia ki he lahi taha ai lipoti kua whakahoko ki he FTC. Ko imposter scam. O ke lewa mo scam me taha ko credit bureaus, info, report users, aia ko whika tolu ia. Ko whika tolu koe ke lai taha no ripoti ki he FTC, pe ko Federal Trade Commission, ko hawhahinga ripoti, ko hawhahinga scam, whika, for example, mako example le taha, ko ke te invest, O mai ho panga ki hen ka te au, ke maha panga te au, o sko ia pe te uhanga, te tauhanga whahuia ki he mea koe, pe e tupu ia i he liunga tolu, i he mahina i aho pe tolu, o sko ia pa ke toi whahu e tolu ngeau koe ia, pe e tupu liunga tolu ia i aho pe nima. That's ko scam whika tolu lahi taha ia. I he lipoti koe o mai pe a mei he FTC, na e whakahoko i Amerika ni. I he scam koe ni, mo ripoti koe ni na, tukuanga mai pe ripoti koe ni FTC e wike koe a kua osi. Ko e ngahi ripoti e ua po i neono miliona ko e ngahi fraud reports ia. Aia ko e ngahi fraud reports ko a uia ki e whakamau anga pe ko a uia ki e whakailo ki nao tolu. Ko e anga koe ngau e whakatawa whamatala koe FTC, ko e anga nao ngau e koe ia pe mo FBI, ko ne a ua tu pe koe ha ripoti o whie mau ia ke ave ke tu unga ke whakailo pe e pasi le vai ke potu ngā polisi.
Loko.
Punga pois loko lo. Pe ka pau e a tu o ku mei ko skemia ko ni o hoko ia i he mei county ko to ape pe avele vai a ke tu unga to ma alungan ke state. Pe ka pau e a te fatatolo o mahino ko skemia ko ni o ku hoko ia mei ngai state tolo pe fa pe ni ma americani pe avele vai a ki he federal ki he FBI. O fai mea no whakatotolo. Pe se te ua fitu o e fraud report pe koe lipoti koe ni, ne mole e nau paanga. Whafofua ke paanga whakakatoa ai ngahi lipoti ko toa ne whai ki whahoko ki Federal Trade Commission, whakakatoa ne mole ai paanga e hongo fulu piliona. O koe ka hongo fulu miliona, ka koe hongo fulu piliona. Ko avalisi ko pa anga ai to taha na e mole pe ko median loss a pa anga ko tola ni mangeao ai me ko tau pehepe ko to ko lai taha ka kai na e mole e nau pa anga ne a o ke tola ni mangeao me ko minimum ia o pa anga na e mole sai ko e nau sio ko ki he anga ko ia a hono whaka avalisi o whatatau ki e toko lahi ko ia o e whanatau ke tau motu ne nau pehe ko e kakai younger people whafofua ke pesete wanoa ke wakiva pesete whawha o e kakai ko ia ne ripoti ko younger people
me tau wanoa e tau wahiva
tau wanoa ke tau wahiva pesete wanima me tau fitu noa ke tau fitu hiva ka koe kakai ko koe o mole e nau paanga o nau wau ke tau fitu noa ke tau fitu hiva o ku toi lahiange ai paanga ia o anau tol o mole whakawhianaki ke paanga ai kakai koe o ku tau wanoa ke tau wahiva. Neongo e nau pesete wanima pa te los ko nau losi anau tol o ku lahiange ia i e los koe koe ai tamai ki o tau wanoa ke tau wahiva. Nai no pe ko tau fitu noa ke tau wanoa ke tau wahiva whakamalis ke panga whaonga wau noa ke tōtaha. O mole pe me ki he scam Ko fitu noa ke fitu hiva whakaavaris ke valungi au tuku. Mana tui ko median pain, median loss. Pea ko valu noa leo ko alu ko ta umotu a lahiange, ko alu ange ia ai mole ki he toi lahiange. Aia ko mea ko nau whakamahino mai. Sai, ko imposter scam, ai ni koe oku o atu koe ni ahono ata. O me ke toko taha i he toko nima ko toa pe o ku nau whetaulaki ki nau tolu o ku mole e nau paanga i he imposter scams. Ai ko imposter scams e nau taranoa tu koe ki ai ane nai, Nau malohi aki i ki tau lava ke te pehe whakatupe te paanga aho pe tolu aho wha aho nima. Ko imposter scams ia. Aia o me ko toko taha i he toko nima ko toa pe o mole e nau paanga. Tau tāna pen, ka pau hea kau he pyramid scheme. Ko pyramid scheme, pe koe whahinga ai paanga ko ia. Ai ni ko tala mai ke te recruit mai toko nima ko he sai. Ka pau ko toko, tau pepe ka pau ko toko wanoa, o nau kau i he fo scheme ko ia. O tala mai lipoti ko ni mei ko toko wha i toko wanoa ko ia, mole e nau paanga. Mole e nau pito e nau paanga. Aia koe ngahi talanoa pe koe lipoti whakamui taha ia, whekau aki pea moe scam, pea i he taim tau peho ek moe ka inga. Hange koe mea koe no ko tāna koe lipoti koe nine tok o mai whakamui taha, na e toki tuku wange mai he FTC, i he wike koe ni kua osi, pene whahoko ai e whataha koe ni, pene whai ai e talanoa ai Federal Trade Commission whekau aki pea moe lipoti koe ni, pea au mahu inga au pito ia ke tau wakai ki ai, he neongo o ku tau pehe toko lai, kai ke fu mahu inga ka te au tau mai o ku scam, o ku kau au ha scam. Na e toki scam au i he mahalo ko osena mahina e taha pe ua mea pe te utala noa atu pe ko ui ngā ke ko toki ilo ine sione foi scam ko ia. Se wha Facebook o ku iai ai pehe te whakafonu ai ki i whakafonu ai questionnaire, Osko ia pe a te uma ulewa a e ku foi pesi. Pa koe foi pesi ko ia, those coach, ai ko class best mamafa ia foi brand mamafa ko ia. Pe ko hila hi fau ia ke ngahi comment ko i lalo ko i foi tuaki ko ia ke te whafonu ko ia foi questionnaire. Tako lai apita kakai o ku nau whaita e mai nau tolu me nau pesi. Kon ko smart pesi, thank you very much. I finally got the ngahi pesi ko ia. Pa pe tak sai ke whawhono ko hinga ke mao hak pesi na whai ko mao hak pesi elinsi, Pea o tu ato whawhono foi questionnaire. Whawhono pa algo ke whakaosi pe o mai lewa foi hange ko ha foi hamea ke te spin, Ai ko te spin ko ia o kai ngai pale loto. Pa pau lewa te mao e pesi, pa te mao lewa te pesi, Pea, he go so ifo going I comment ko kakai og nau pehe I didn't get any prize. Ai mahino kau ko gana nau spin na to pagi ke mahana prize na.
Ke spin ke pa ma.
Mau sai ki spin. Pa ko lomi i go spin, ko de spin pe ko ya o pa pe ko ma mai fo I pesi coach. Ai fo I pesi ma mafa go no ko hinga ki. Go fia. Click tama, congratulations o ke maa pesi, pa ko click ko i he pesi, tala mai, okay, o whema ke totonge panga fitu. O whema ke totonge panga fitu, ki shipping ko ngā ka ship ya te pesi ko ni maao. I he tu, pa kitu huai o pe, te totonge nai tola fitu pe kai. Pe ko haske me nia pa ko pe mak sai ki totonge tola fitu pa totonge tola fitu ko totonge pe ko tola fitu pe au mato to o ki office pa mau to check me li hen to check office o ya honi te ke ma pe si ya
ko ha mi ni wa ha mi wa
Ko pe ia e mau e pesi.
Mai na pe ki ha mi hapai ko hapai pe te na lava ki na identify ngai ka pe.
Ia honi o te ke mai pesi and that's a scam. Ko me ataka ia ngai scam o ko ngai a honi o whakatau online ni mai tau te fito ke Facebook a tuku mai ngai mea ke te whakatau online ni ai.
Ko e meria wa nga ke hanga di lio password ke kati mo me pe he ko e meria o ko ne ha pe ki me o ko si fa fon kati me pa ko pahi a wi ta fituri mo ka kai ko na scam e ko transition ko to fogia o fa ko e kati o ko ha wi ke telefoni pe ko kula e ke po me fa lo ga amerika ke te to ga ke ta amerika o ta ke ka ta ko anga fe ho. But anyway, make the long story short, o tala mai he Federal Commission ko lahi taha o ngai scam ko ni o ku hoko ia I he social media. Ko taimi ko he vo le me amerikani. Ta ko e na matu aki lere pe scam ia I he ngahi infomercial. Matui kira ro na ki fofoloi amerikani. Pade mo fatonga e foi hoa be to tongi he kau information lo pa ko be information lo ka I pe scam me ko to ka kau e information lo ia I he fahinga proklama ne tuaki ai e fahinga imposter scam ko ni ulau ke Federal Commission Aia ko na o mai ha foi packets ke whakatau ka hiri ko ia o kuna hanga na to o mislead ka kai mo a manake ka kai ko na complete ko ni e whahinga packets ko ni te na get somewhere Pero hare me fero o ku fai pe fero na hanga o shutdown ko to ai ngai business ko to pe o ku nau o ku launga e ngai na to whekau aki mo ngahi tuaki whakatau packets ko ni o I kai ngata pe na hanga o shutdown tatau pe he website ka pe he foki ki ngai kau taha I he within US pe o mai rewa ki nau to ki he whakamau anga kau nau pe he ko lahi taha o ngahi scam ko ni o ku I he social media pe kau ke mo telefoni of course ka ko menu ki whalolo mai meri ko identity theft report ko ni ai ko kamata pe ni ka ko whanau he officer ne pe he te kai ki tawa o ke AI meri artificial intelligence ki he no ngawe ke kakai ki na honga falsify a leo hataha hangi ngai case kene mawa mahatu ki mo ai ngai po kalama pe he ni ka kune pe he ko to alwa ni ke to whakalilifuange pe kai pe ke tuku e nau whinga o e aki pe moe FBI kai pe he foki ki he ngahi law enforcement means ki he sheriff kai pe he ki ngahi local city e nau whinga o e aki ki hono whetuku mai ai kakai koe ni o ku nau whai scam koe ni ku ko ripoti koe ni whakatatau ki ngahi tau ko e ko au ia ki ha levolo ia e meri o ku fuu mau o lunga au pita.
Ka tunga ke tau wakai ki he ki tānoa koe ni pia me he presentation a Maria Mayo pia me he FTC Federal Trade Commission.
Kani whatau puko e panga ua noa koe ki he lulu pe ni tika maua pe se tolu. Koe e whaki Lindsay.
Our online complaint forms, and a host of data contributors. We also maintain the Consumer Sentinel Network, the database where all of the consumer reports that we receive are stored and made available to law enforcement. Today, I will be discussing some of the highlights and trends that we saw in the 2023 data, with a particular focus on the fraud reports that we received. Next slide. One of the main highlights of 2023 is that for the first time ever, consumers reported losing $10 billion to various frauds and scams. This is an increase from the $9 billion in losses reported in 2022. But the number of reports we received in 2023 did not increase dramatically. 1 in 4 consumers reported losing money, with a median loss of $500 per consumer. Next slide. Here are the top 5 most reported fraud categories. Number 1 is imposters, which are scams where someone is pretending to be a trusted entity. It could be a business, a government agency, a family member, or even a romantic interest. I will provide more details about this category shortly. Number 2 is online shopping and negative reviews. And rounding off the top 3 is prizes, sweepstakes, and lotteries. These top 3 fraud categories have remained the same since 2021. Number 4 is investments, which I will cover in a little bit. And coming in at number 5 is business and job opportunities. Next slide. The imposter category consists of 5 subcategories: business imposters, government imposters, romance scams, tech support scams, and family and friend imposters. People reported being confronted with a business imposter scam more than any other type of imposter scam, and we have seen the dollar amount lost to this particular scam steadily increase over the past 3 years, with a staggering $752 million in losses reported in 2023. Next slide, please. Here is an example of a business imposter scam. A consumer receives what appears to be a banking alert about fraudulent activity with their bank account and is given a number to call. The consumer calls the number thinking it's their bank, and it's then transferred to a U.S. Marshal because of the fraudulent activity going on with their account. To convince the consumer that he is an actual U.S. Marshal, the scammer tells the consumer to search his name on a government website to verify his identity. The fake marshal then tells the consumer that their money...
Ko te pe oku mahino ati ka kumoto le tūkunga ko ia oku ia e lipoti ko ni hange ko ngai lipoti ko ia. O hange ko e lipoti ko ia oku o atu pe me I he kaunanga ko ni oku rotonga ngā au e whoku mo ia e Federal Trade Commission pere na o mai e ngai whamatala ko ni.
Government imposter fraud was the second most reported type of imposter scam. In fact, the losses to FTC imposters skyrocketed in 2023, with a median loss of $7,000 compared to a $3,000 median loss in 2019. Next slide. Investment-related scams is number 4 in the list of the most reported frauds. However, it is the category where people reported the most losses. Consumers reported losing $4.6 billion to investment scams, with a median loss of over $7,000. The dollar amount lost in this category has also steadily increased since 2021. Next slide. Here's an example of an investment scam. The consumer was in contact with a woman who promised to teach him how to invest because he didn't know anything about trading, and it was his first experience. Consumer transferred $10,000 from his account via bank wire. Since he was able to withdraw the first profit, he really thought this woman was helping him, and he trusted her with all of his money. It was a scam.
Kata haine example of investment scams. Ko e whiwhine ko e ni na ane palomesiange ki he tōtaha ki he tamayo e ko e ni. Tene hanga o, tene hanga a ko ia i he trading. Pea koe fofua taime ni a ki he tangata koe ni ke ne ilo ke ne ako ki he trading. Pea e ne a ko i ko ia e whewhine koe ni ai tangata koe ni. Pea mauai e ia e falala, mau he tangata koe ni e falala ki whewhine, o ne oange e paanga e tahamano. Oange paanga tahamano aina e bank wire pe tahamano koe ni ke ne akau ni, ko inga ke whai ake trade koe o kua ko i, a ko i koe maana. Pea na ne mau e ne ulak fo i profiti. Ka na ne falala o pito ki whewhine, pa ne toi oange kotoa e ne paanga, pea ha, pea more kotoa e paanga koe ia. Ai koe taha e example o investment, pe koe investment koe ni i he scam.
Next slide. Another highlight of the 2023 data is regarding the contact method or how scammers reach out to people. Email was the most reported method in 2023, and this is the first time ever that email has been the #1 reported contact method. In 2022, text was the #1, but before that, phone calls was always #1. Next slide. Even though phone was not the most reported contact method in 2023, people who were contacted by scammers by phone reported higher median losses, with a median loss of $1,480. But overall, consumers who reported that the fraud started on social media reported losing the most money, to the tune of $1.4 billion. Next slide.
Ko e mole lahi taha e paanga e kakai, o mole ia pia me he telefoni. Aia koe tātu ko ia olohi a ki ikita. Whafofua ke whakaamalisi ke panga taha whange au wau noa, ai mole e toko taha i he scam koe telefoni. Ko social media, pe koe Facebook, pe koe ngai mea koe ia, ko lahi taha e mole ko ia ai paanga ai kakai i hono lipoti, na au ia ke paanga taha po ene whapiri o na whakakatoa total loss. Pea ko lipoti ko ia whekau aki pea moe emaili, pe ko scam ngau ake emaili, ko lipoti ko ia ne au ia, ne ai lipoti ke fo lipoti e tolu kilu ni mamano valuafe. Aia koe ngai whonga au scam kai kakai, moe paanga o kumore ka o mai fika koe ngai lipoti me he Federal Trade Commission.
The last highlight I want to mention is how people paid scammers. People overwhelmingly reported the use of bank transfers and cryptocurrency, especially in frauds involving investment advice and romance scams. People who paid by bank transfers reported losing $1.9 billion, while people who paid by cryptocurrency reported losing $1.4 billion.
Lai taha paanga koe e kakai ne molene na ngau e aki ai bank transfer. Aia koe bank transfer whafofua ke paanga taha po ne nima walu miliona e paanga kakai ne mole na ngau e aki bank transfer i hono transfer koe e paanga. Pea me ke paanga taha po ne whawalu miliona e kakai e total whakakato e paanga mole pea mi hono ngau e aki koe o cryptocurrency. Aia koe ngai whaunga ke he na hono ngau e aki koe o e transfer pe ko fe avea ke paanga ko lahi taha ai paanga ai kakai na e mole ne na ngau e aki ai bank transfer hoko ate cryptocurrency pe hoko ate fok me fonga ko ia o wire transfer to hoko ate e cash me hafua ngai fonga ko ia.
In 2023, fraud losses topped $10 billion, the first time ever that we have reached that benchmark. Our annual Sentinel data book was released today. It includes information regarding fraud reports we received as well as identity theft. Thank you for allowing me to share some of the highlights from that data.
Maria, that was such a really clear and
Aia koe lipotia ne ulak whakahoko mai koe ia pia me Federal Trade Commission. Pe hange pe koe ia ko mo osmea mai ki ai ho ekpa mo e kāinga. Lahi au pito laui piliona. Ai paanga e kakai kua mole me he scam. I e ngai whonga ke koe na e lipoti mai pia me he Federal Trade Commission. Tau whatonga e ange, social media, kauia i a whaunga o kulahi ai mole pe kulahi ai tō ai kakai i a scam i hononga ai koe social media. Ko e telefoni, ko e text, ai a koe ngai whaunga koe o kulahi taha ai e mole koe ai paanga ai kakai ko e social media. Tau wakai koe ia ki e whaunga transfer ai paanga, ko e lahi taha ai paanga o mole i he scam, ko kakai o ngau e aki ko ia ai bank transfer. Pe ko te transfer me account ki account. Hoko atu ki ono ngau e aki ko ia o cryptocurrency. Aia o ko ngahi whaunga ia o ku mole lahi taha ai paanga ko ia ai kakai o Amerika ni. Pako tui o ku iai pe mo tau kainga tonga o ku tau sii whetau laki pia mo e whaingata a koe ni mole e tau paanga i e ngai scam kai o mafoki ai ngahi fraud. Te tau hokoko tai pe ki e ngai presentation mo ngai tāno a koe ia pe me toenga o e kau ngāwe pe me Federal Trade Commission whekau aki pia mo e scam.
Specializing in ethnic communities regarding the type of scam and the kind of cultural and linguistic fluency that goes with targeting those audiences.
I think Lois is going to cover some of that. So why don't we pass it on to Lois so she can come.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maria, you have just whetted our appetite for a whole lot more. Thank you, and please stay on the call. So our second speaker, and we welcome her back from numerous briefings she's been on with us, is Lois Briceman, who will, I think, be very helpful in talking about why consumer reporting is so crucial to the FTC's work and provide examples of impersonator scams. Ms. Griezmann.
Thank you, Sandy, and hello, everybody. I'm really delighted to be here, to have this opportunity to chat with you for a little bit. Let me pick up right where Sandy mentioned. Why does reporting to the FTC matter? It matters. You've heard lots of data from Maria. There are lots of numbers. There are lots of different types of data that we look at. It matters for two main reasons. It supports our law enforcement work, and not only our work at the FTC, that Consumer Sentinel database that those millions and millions of reports go into are available to nearly 3,000 state, federal, local law enforcement entities across the country. So it's a huge treasure trove of data supporting law enforcement. It also supports our strategic planning and our outreach. What do we do with this data? So when we see, for example, that gift cards become a payment instrument of choice by scammers, and we see huge spikes in those numbers, then we can reach out to industry and see what they're doing and see what more they can be doing to curb abuse of gift cards. When we see, for example, text messaging becoming a more important, more frequent point of initial contact for consumers, we can reach out to the telecommunications industry and say, you have a problem. What are you going to do about it to help consumers? We mine the data. We use it to develop law enforcement leads. In particular, and this touches upon the question that was asked, we have a team that looks on types of scams that might be targeting or disproportionately impacting communities of color. Two real-life examples, an entity called Ganadoras that we sued last June. It was targeting Spanish-speaking consumers, promising financial freedom with proven strategies to teach you how to make big money investing in real estate. Took in some $6 million from consumers. Enormous harm. Another example, a company called BINT, which stands for Blessings in No Time. It's a blessing loan, which is really a type of investment scam. It was targeting Black consumers. We shut it down. They were promising 800% returns on investments. In reality, there was no there. It was simply a recruiting scam. The only money that came in was money that came from the person, your neighbor, your friend, your family member, whom you recruited to join this. There too, millions of dollars lost. Let me shift back to impersonator scams because of the pervasiveness, the prevalence of them, and the huge impact. Maria gave you the really two big categories: government impersonation, business impersonation. Government ranges from on the Immigration Service, on the FBI, Social Security, IRS, to the local sheriff's office, to the local police department. On the business side, banks, Federal Express, Amazon, UPS. I bet everyone on this call probably has received a text purportedly from Amazon or maybe from Geek Squad. They are persuasive. And, these scammers are really good at what we're doing. And one of the things we worry about is the use of artificial intelligence, AI, to, as they say, quote, turbocharge fraud. And we're seeing that along lines of impersonation. So imagine the relative, say aunt. Scammer can easily get a snippet, a couple of seconds of your aunt's voice. From that, they can actually clone it. And the cloning technology is really quite good. And before you think, why is there cloning technology? It was developed for medical reasons. People can lose their voice to accident, to illness, and they still want to be able to communicate in their own voice. And it's been very effective for that. Unfortunately, it's also effective for scammers because it's one thing to receive a call saying, your aunt's been in a terrible car accident. She's in the hospital. There's no information on insurance. What we need you to do and she needs surgery right away. We need you to wire money to us. And we need thousands of dollars for this life-saving surgery. Think of a twist on that, which is, it's your aunt's voice, cloned, but it sounds exactly like your aunt. She's asking for money. It's her voice, sounds like her. The inflection is like hers, and she's asking for the money. You then have a turbocharged impersonation scam. And what we're seeing with AI, it's not just limited to voice cloning. AI is seeping into scammers' messages that the secret sauce that I have, which will enable you to invest in cryptocurrency, is proven to work because I use AI. I have trained the AI to beat the stock market. And with all the hype around AI these days, that's a very compelling claim to make. And we've already sued some entities making such claims. Let me shift gears now to, I think there have been some questions about how do you spot this? mean, how do I know if it's not the police department, if it's not the IRS? And one of the best ways is by what payment instrument they're asking you to provide them with money. Wire transfers, think Western Union or MoneyGram, bright red flag. Cryptocurrency, bright red flag. Gift cards, bright red flag. And again, if the insistence is on pay me by some sort of app, maybe Cash App, maybe Venmo, also red flags. Scammers like these payment methods because it gives them the greatest measure of anonymity. And they are most harmful to consumers because law enforcement's ability to trace the money is extremely difficult, which means the likelihood of getting it returned is extremely difficult. So anyone who is insisting on payment, doesn't matter how they reached you, whether it was text, phone, email, if they're insisting on payment by wire transfer, gift card, payment app, or cryptocurrency, that is a huge bright red flag. I think I will stop there and see if there
are lots of questions, but let's take just a few and hope.
Ko tui oku o mai ai whakakaukau koe ni he lea koe ni ai mahu inga koe ia ke tau whihu ia, he tau whihu ia. Ai ha uhinga o ku whie mao ai he FTC ai ngai lipoti koe ni paku o si whamatala mai pe e he kaunanga koe ni. Koe uhinga unau whie mao ai, koe uhi e tokoni au pita ke ki nau tolu. Ke nau lawa whakatuu ke regulate ai ngahi tau te whito. Kataki o ku kile o lahi mai mau ta wha koe ni. Tau te whito hange koe ni, for example, ka pau o ku lawa ke o ku lahi hono ngawe aki koe ia. Hange ko ni ka pau lewa o ku lahi no ngai ake text ke ngahi scam pe e lava lewa ia ke nau tā ke ngahi telecommunication companies pe ko hanga i mea te nau lava o whakahoko ko e uhi ngā ke lava ke toe whakasisi a ki hono ngai aki e he text e he kau scammers a hono scam ko ia o e kakai. Aia ko uhi ngai nau whie mawai ke nau ke lipo tiange o ka pau o hoko ha scam kia te koe o whie mao ia ke lipoti ki e Federal Trade Commission ai scam ko ia ko ngā ke tokoni ke te nau tolu ke nau whai ngai tutu uni e tokoni ki hono enforce ai ngai lao pe ko law enforcement lava ke tokoni ai lipoti ko ni ki ai ai ko tahaya ai ngai mea mahu ingai ke tauhanga o lipoti o ka pau o ku hoko ha scam kia te koe.
Ke mea ko ha lahi taha he ni i he whamatala koe ni e meli. Ko taimi kan koe e ne pehe koe red flag, koe ne whetutakat peha taha he text, pe koe social media, pa hape whaunga email i whetutakat ke te koe, ke o ata ngai whakaukau, o kuna osi whakaukau i koe ke kaka i koe, pe kono scam koe. Ko nau talanoa paanga pe, o au pen ke Bitcoin ni, ko e kauia i he ngahi whakatokanga o nau pe red flag ke toe whakatokanga i ange mahuinga ke lava ke matuaki tokanga au pito i he taimi o ku nau whitutaki atu ai, Ka koe mea ko te koe i he palapare magani e meri ko taimi kan koe ko ke komiti ai ke hanga o ange hapaanga ko kauia i he taha palapare ma o whekuki mea o nau whekuki mo ia ke nau hanga identify e whitu ko huuki ai paanga uruaki. Ua, koe paanga ko ia, angangi peke to lava te mai e meri. Ai koe kakawi e ngai mea whakaloloma, ko o ange pe paanga ke kakai koe ni, te long gone silver. Kei ki toi lava e whainga ta, wai whainga ni hia hangi koe mea gana hako koe FTX, Fukau tahalahi ko ia nau kakai e fukau lau nea o ke piliona, Na moe paanga ko ia neongon mahino ai paanga e kakaina na o mai ke FTX. Ka koe whaunga kone whakamoreki ko he FTX ai paanga ko e kakai. Na moe o kai pito lawa whawhok mai meri.
Ko ki ko tanga ko ne community te tau wakai ai ki whaunga ko ia ki ke lipoti ai o ka pau ko scam ko pe o ke ngoi o ku scam ko ki a lipoti ko ki Federal Trade Commission.
And awareness is also so important. On the reporting side, it's so important because we can only bring cases and do education and outreach about the scams that we know about. We want to encourage people to report what they see and experience so that we can stop the scams and warn our communities about them through education. I think personally, together we can make a difference in reducing scams. And we are so grateful for your time today and your help sharing the information with the communities that you are a trusted resource for. One question that came up earlier was how to report fraud in multiple languages. So I want to assure you that yes, the answer is yes. People can now report fraud, scams, and any bad business practice that they see in their preferred language. To report fraud, call 877-382-4357. Press 3 to report and get help in your preferred language. The phone lines are available between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. For those who prefer to report online, they can do it in English at reportfraud.ftc.gov or in Spanish at reportefraud.ftc.gov. And I'll thank my colleague, Rosario Mendez, who I know will be adding information that I'm sharing with you in the chat. When people report fraud, they can report as little or as much information as they want to. For example, they can also do it anonymously if that is a concern. We are interested in knowing what happened. We want to know the story. We also take identity theft reports in multiple languages. To report identity theft and to get help on what to do next in your preferred.
Oku api tau taimi, pero mau inga koe api tau taimi. Ko whaambe e hoik makainga mo mea mai ke pokalama mau inga koe ni. Koe na ko kaila ai Federal, ha taha peu ne fie ripoti ha whaihala, pero kaka I whakai paanga, te ke lava o ripoti hanga tonu kia ki nau tolu. Tatau pe isi I moe lahi, kau nau fie mau ke ripoti, he kono ripoti ko ia, ko tahaia o ngahi, mea ngā ue te nau tau ia ke whaihala, mo whengau e aki o I kaingata hange peka ngahi pyramid scam ko au si he kaingata ngā emeri, O talamai he Federal Trade Commission, ripoti ka ki nau tolu, peo si I peo kulahi, ripoti. Pako ripoti ka tuka ki nau tolu, ke nau whituta ki nau tolu ia, ki he ngahi waa ke he. Hange o FBI, Local Law Enforcement. At least ko o whaire koe, ai keisi koe ia, Aki ha ohu ki na website whaire e koe. Ka tuke nau tō ki whae na whatotoro anau tō e meri ka koe uhinga lahi taha ke ripoti ai ke sisi pe ke lahi ke whai hanga aue ki ai te nau whinga nau rei taha ki whakahoko e he o whatau nau whamata la nau tolo nau hanga e meri o tauhinga re koti. Kotoa o kakai nau whatupu ai mau paanga kāka Ine hanga ue sia ka kai oe whanua pe au nau tānaki ngahi data ko ia mga information ko ia. Ke whai ake nau ngā ue whakatolo whikau aki pe mga whai hala ko ni. Ka au nau pehe neongo ko nau mawhai o ku ihe ngata I Amerikani. Ka ui kai ke tukua e nau whenga ue aki mga federal agency ngai whanua ke he meri. Ko ki tāna ki wawe pēu ngā koe tau taimi, mono mahu inga ko ia ke mohanga o ripoti hanga case peheni o kohoko tau kakai e ko uhinga tau polkalama. Pa ko uhinga na whakawhi iai wāke tau flau ki he ngai whakataha koe ni pa moe whero, mo ngai agency ke he. Ko hinga ke nau wahe mai, ngai mea ngā aue o malawa ke whai hawhi ngā aue aki. Ke tuku mai ngahi au sia, mo ngahi whatotolo nau whakahoko ke wahe ia I he community ka pehe whoki ka kai oi whanua. Ko whatawanga pehe hokoni ka tokoni, ka tokotaha, whainga tā ia, pa mōri hanau paanga lahi I he ngahi scam ke he, ka koe nau whakamatala I mai. Whirutaki anga ki nau tolo. Hu ke website I, tukuange, oange information ni ka nau ngāwe nau toki ai. Emily?
Ngata ngai tau programa ko ia whikau aki pe amoe scam. Pe o gue whamalo ai pe whoki ke Federal Trade Commission. Kai o maa whoki a Ethnic Media Services. Ko hina ko whingai aki. Ke lawa ke au ato e ngai whamatala mahu inga ko en lawa ke hauwha ki I ai hamo ui pe a mei scam.
Pekai tuku ai pokalama ko ni meri. He ko kawen he pokalama o nauhanga. O fia mau ke fe vahe aki ka kai e whanua hape whonga te nau wa o tai ka whaiangongo ki e media mo hafua o au ki he ngahi group whenga we aki ko sentola mahili
Emerito
ka mau mea.
Thank you for coming.